First off is Tyler Hurt, and the title of his project is Leadership Through Gaming.
So I'm Tyler, and my project is Leadership Through Gaming. The motto of this school that is always told to us is creating leaders one project at a time. And I wanted to kind of put my own twist on it and put something that I'm passionate forward and show everyone how it can actually benefit us, especially something like this, gaming, which is often considered to be the opposite of academic and often is displayed as someone who is an avid gamer, usually has bad grades, they're not respectable, they completely ignore orders, and I wanted to show that it's a case-by-case standard, but most of the time when people game, it's just because they find it fun. It could be an emotional release or some kind of escape from the stresses of our world. And that's kind of what I wanted to expose everyone to. I wanted to break the negative stigma that is around. So my main focus was to teach life skills using games. Like they could be, to pretty much show people that they could be a leader through gaming, which being a leader entails communicating with your team members, being able to work with your team members, so being cooperative and being able to work in a group. It also has to deal with problem solving. You have to be able to, if something is put before you, you have to find a way to overcome it and learn from it. I wanted to show how students could benefit from playing games. Obviously, everything is best taken in moderation, so too much of anything is bad, and I wanted to show them that playing the right amount and playing the right things can actually benefit them and make them a better person and also possibly better prepare them for adult life. And I wanted to have participants hone multiple skills, such as ones prevalent in leaders, like communicating, being able to problem solve, being able to work as a team and a good group member. So in the beginning, there was nothing. And I'm serious about this. Everyone else, it seemed, in the senior class, had at least somewhat of an idea of what they're going to do. Me, I was a complete mess. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was bouncing back and forth from ideas. By the time everyone had solid ideas, I was still deciding. So that's not a good way to start the year. Eventually I came to this topic because Quinn convinced me to do something that I'm passionate about. At first I was anxious about it because I had this idea that I needed to make it really academic and I needed to change the school and just make it super strict. But he told me that this is my project and I could do what I want with it, and I just wanted to kind of change people's minds on this topic. But even then, my confidence with this was non-existent because I had no idea how I was going to make this work. Because in my eyes, I didn't know what I was going to do for my big event. I didn't know what I was going to do to make it seem like I was actually working on this. So I didn't know how to make this a legitimate project at first. So when it came to seminars, everyone had time slots, and I got partnered with Nick because ours were somewhat intertwined and we found ways to make them work, but it was also due to time because it worked better for us to be in pairs. However, there were setbacks and issues very early on with ours. At first, we were supposed to have all our seminars completed before winter break, but even before December started, we got our seminars pushed back, and we ended up only having one seminar in semester 1, and then we were only allowed to have 4 during semester 2, which accounted to 5 hours total for us when we were each supposed to have 6. So that was something we had to overcome and work through, and we had to change our lesson plans according to this. And I personally used my lesson 1 as a learning tool. I still use it to teach the students, but since it was a one-off, I made it short so we could get through it. But I also made sure that it wouldn't continue on into the next semester because there'd be a whole new set of kids. So I just made sure to kind of learn what to do with it because I haven't really taught an entire class of kids that much before. So I had to find out what works, what doesn't work, and then I used that information to better my seminars for second semester. So what I did was I taught skills, individual skills, each each seminar had a certain skill ranging from teamwork to also careers in gaming, which if someone wants to chase that, I wanted to show them that they have that opportunity if they really wanted to try to pursue it. I also taught communication, making sure the students were communicating, time management, making sure that everybody, because everything needs to be managed, and I wanted to make sure that that was put forward first. And I had them do activities each time. Like for the time management one, I gave them a slip of paper that had 24 one-hour blocks, and I had them plan out their Thursday and Fridays, because seminars were on Wednesday, so I had them plan out their next 2 days, and hour by hour, and then next week we came back and judged the accuracy of it. And it kind of showed them how it is to manage your time and to schedule everything. I also, at the end, it was very chaotic because I had got the iPads from Mr. Bolton for them to play games. And if anyone's been here when we got the iPads, they will know that they are not new, they are old, they are slow, and they do not like to cooperate. So very often when we try to get the game booted up, they would crash, they would boot the kids out, they wouldn't connect in the first place. So we had multiple different groups running multiple different simulations, and it was pretty chaotic, but I think it was like a good chaos because the kids were having fun, I was having fun going around rushing, making sure everything was fine. And as long as they enjoyed it and they were learning something and they were communicating, that was the whole point of it, and I think that it worked out. So the next thing I did was my lunch club. I had students playing group games that were either card or dice games, ranging from stuff like Yahtzee, Liar's Dice, Crazy 8, which is a knockoff Uno, and Go Fish. And it was to urge students to socialize and have fun with other peers that they might not otherwise be doing. So there were some days where there were 20 plus people, and unfortunately I didn't get a picture of it because I forgot how my phone camera worked on that day. But as you can see, there are these pictures where there are still pretty big halls, and even here, we had different groups of people interacting with students that they might not interact with from different grade levels, and just having fun with the games that were presented to them. The only rule I gave them was that they played the game and they followed the rules. Other than that, they were free to do whatever they wanted to do, because I wanted it to be about them. I wanted them to have fun. I wanted them to have a reason to come back, or else I don't feel like it would have been successful. So I made sure that they wanted to be there and they had fun with it, so they would keep coming and it'd be a success. So next, it was family movie and game night. At first, there were a lot of roadblocks. I had an original date set for March 10th for a game night, but then another event came up, so we merged the two together. But as the merging was happened, the first event got canceled, and I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to pull off the next one because I was worried about the time and how much I'd be able to pull together for it. So the first week after I learned the news that the first event was canceled, I was panicked. I was a mess. I didn't know what to do, where to take it. And then I started talking with Quinn, administration, even getting in contact with PTSA to make the event bigger. And as the meetings went on, I started to get a clearer picture of what was happening and what needed to be done to make sure that it was successful. And it seemed like everything was coming together, including at one point there were game donations I was waiting on. And at first, nothing was coming through. I was really worried. It was almost the week of the event. Nothing had come in yet. And then the weekend, the Tuesday we get back after the weekend, there's a mountain of games. And I was so ecstatic. I felt so relieved that it actually worked and that this event would actually be pulled off. So then the day finally came for the event itself. I was really concerned about attendance because in the multi-purpose room, there was movies going on, and then over through that hallway in the science lab area in Keno Webster Advisories, that's where the games were. I was worried that people would stay in the MPR and they wouldn't want to go into the science lab area, so they wouldn't notice my games and they wouldn't try to come and have fun. They'd just focus on the movie, and that would just leave me writing on the PTSA's event, and I didn't want to do that because that's not right, I don't feel like. But as more people came in, and after about like half an hour of the event running, I looked into the rooms and they were filled. They were packed. The bingo rooms, like in this picture right here, they were filled to the brim. I was excited. We had sign-up lists for the bingo because there were prizes, and the list, they were filled an hour in advance. And the other room, this one was where we had the board games. There were a ton of kids circulating it, taking off games, playing with them, putting them back, socializing with other peers, and I thought that that was really good to see, and just watch them have fun and kind of enjoy the event, and that's what it was about, just to kind of socialize with each other and enjoy the time that they had there. So I think the project had an impact of, the donations will be staying with the school, as in the board game donations. So the school has an entire new stock of board games. It's pretty massive stock. Teachers, they can use them for lesson plans if they want, or especially like next week where we're not going to have block classes and you spend a lot of the time in advisory, the teachers will be able to take board games if they please and have the advisories play with them. And I think that's cool because we used to not really be able to do that. Like some advisors would have some board games stored away, but for the most part, we were lacking. So I think that now that there's a stock, there's that option too. Also, it gives the teachers options to maybe work lesson plans around it. Like if they want to teach something about financial literacy, they could play Monopoly, or if they wanted to just do some other simulation, they could play the game of life. It encouraged communication between students. I saw during the lunch club, there were young students, old students of every grade level, and they were interacting with each other, and I don't feel like that they would have otherwise, because in the school, I'm sure that all the students can see that a lot of the grades are actually pretty split up, and there are really tight-knit groups. Other than that, people don't really move around from group to group. So I feel as though like doing that created a whole new group of separate groups that kind of knitted them together and allowed people to interact with each other in a way that they wouldn't have beforehand. Seemed like it was fun for the participants because they were all enjoying it. I know sometimes during the lunch games they got really chaotic and it was fun, but it was a good kind of chaos because everyone was just enjoying it, even though I would have to clean it all up later. It was fine. As long as they enjoyed it, I was fine with it. And they seemed to all just really commit to it, and it really showed that the plan was working and that they were all a part of the project, because that's what was my goal, is to get them all to be a part of the project themselves. And I do feel as though I have done some effort, put some effort forward into breaking the stigma of how video games are always negative. Now, my project wasn't solely based on video games. It was also board games were integrated later in. But I do feel as though I showed how, in moderation, games can teach you skills. They can teach you to manage your time because you have to work them into your real life. I know it's rich coming from me, the teachers who have me know this. But it can also teach you to work different events around it. And especially if like you have a group of people you're playing with, say at 9, then you have to do something at 11:30, you have to plan around that accordingly. And it also shows that you can work as a team, because I know we had the kids in the seminar do Artemis, and that's a Star Trek bridge simulator, and they have to work as a team because they all have individual roles, so they have to make call-outs to other board members, and they'd have to kind of work together to achieve a goal. And they also had to communicate to do that, so that was another portion of it. So I feel like I hit all the aspects that are tied to being a leader, and I feel as though that was successful about it. The things I could have done differently. I could have advertised the lunch club more, because I know there were times where I was slacking on it, and there were times when the lunch club seemed to die down, and there would be less students there. Of course, there were always students that kept coming back, but there were some days where it was pretty slow. So I could have pushed the advertisements more, could have had a better ad campaign. The game rotations for the lunch club. Originally, the original idea I had for it was a new game every 2 weeks, and I did pretty good with following that originally. But then I started to be missing certain days of school, and also there'd be events in school where we wouldn't be able to have lunch then, and they wouldn't be able to play the game. So I'd kind of substitute time for the next week, and then it got to a thing where some games were lasting too long, and they got bored of them. So that was something I should have worked on better and kind of planned ahead of. And for lesson ideas, there was a lesson I wanted to do, but since the time constraints happened, I couldn't really dive into it because I didn't want to scratch the surface of it, because I wanted to teach the seminar kids kind of like benefits of playing games on the lines of like mental health, how it can help you if you're emotionally distressed, how it can just be a relief, how it can be an escape. And I kind of wanted to do that, and also how it actually affects your brain, like the psychology of it. but that was a really in-depth topic, I felt, and I didn't want to just, I just didn't want to miss out on anything. I was going to say something else, but I shouldn't have. But I didn't want to just, kind of go over it halfway and then not touch the important parts. So I kind of just didn't want to do that. So maybe next, if I had more time, I would have loved to do that, because that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about this. But I didn't get to do it, unfortunately. But what I learned, you have to be able to evolve and adapt as the project moves on, because at first I had no idea what I was going to do. I was kind of stressed about all my ideas failing, and some ideas got canceled, some got changed, but you have to be able to change with them. You have to be able to adapt to what's thrown at you, because nothing goes according to plan. Some things do, but not everything. And you have to be able to change according to that. You have to make sure that everything works okay. And even if they don't seem like they work okay, you have to make it work. I also learned to kind of go with the flow, because I'm a perfectionist, and if I hadn't kind of tried to let go of that idea of perfectionism, I probably wouldn't be up here presenting this, because at the beginning I had no idea how this project was going to go, and as a perfectionist, that's not okay, and you don't want to start like that. And I kind of just had to let it go and just go with what was thrown at me and go with what was suggested and just kind of take it step by step. Communication is a big portion of senior projects. Let the seniors tell you, because at one point I was trying to do stuff that I didn't tell my advisor Quinn about, and he yelled at me, and I learned to not do that again. And I was good about the communication from then, so that was good. And something that you've heard from every senior is time management. Senior year goes by fast, let me tell you. It goes by real fast, so you have to make sure that you can adjust to it. You have to make sure you spend your time wisely, spend it over throughout the year, and not just last minute before a semester ends. So I have a special thanks to Mr. Quinn and Ms. Smith, the two advisors that were mostly around during the senior seminar, helping us make sure we got our seminars ready, and Mr. Quinn, who was kind of like my guide to the whole project and giving me special ideas to go off of. The game donators, everybody who donated games for the event, those helped a lot. All the donations, they were greatly appreciated, and I'm sure the school will appreciate having them. PTSA and administration for allowing me to meet with them and get the whole event going and make it as big as it was. The volunteers for the event, the people working the food booths, the people helping me around the game rooms, all my little minions. The seminar groups for being respectful and just kind of listening to what I'm saying and absorbing the information, because if they were just being rowdy and ignoring it, it wouldn't really be successful and it just wouldn't work. And Mr. Bolton for letting me use the iPads and helping me set them up for the seminar day, even though they were kind of messed up. I know it was just the iPad's faults, and it was still really fun, and I'm thankful for letting me use them. And also a special thank you to all of my senior fam, because they really do give advice and they help. So future seniors, advise, talk to your fellow seniors. They're all here to help you. And on a final note, I feel like this was a success because I showed how you can be a leader through gaming and how you can make it work, and I feel as though I made it academic in a way. So what I want my legacy to be is for all the games that are here, they're all staying. Maybe kids will be able to get the lunch games going again. Maybe they'll see if they can get them to grow some more. And also the teachers will be able to use the board games for any future lessons they have, or if they just want to have fun, because that's what it's all about. Make learning fun. Thank you.